many members of the community, they see, and we did not encounter really side effect or something, maybe little dizziness in the evening, but not that much, not that serious. I did not notice that my cells were changed or something happened to my mind or the way I act mentally. We felt safe, my wife and I, all my children, and all the friends around us. They took the vaccine. In the United States, where I live in Boston, it's known for education. The majority of people, I would say over 70% in the Boston area here, they took the vaccine. But still, there are some. The government is trying to step in and convince those in one way or another. So I like to join my voice to all my colleagues who started before me that this is very serious pandemic and actions are needed. Vaccination are important.
Thank you very much. As you see in the chat, some people like the idea, your statement about not getting vaccinated can be considered a sin. And when I come back to you, Dr. Adeoye, Pastor Adeoye, some people do have they say they have religious reasons for not taking the vaccine. Can you add, to that response, that the Imam just gave about how can you, first of all, address the rumors? And how then do you address people who tell you that they have those religious objections?
Thank you very much. And it's very important when we begin to look at vaccine hesitancy to begin to look at the roots of vaccine hesitancy. I personally believe that there are lots of people that have been misinformed about vaccines. We currently live in an information age. Most people have so much access to social media and many online sites. It is very easy for information to go viral. Information can be shared readily through various social media sites and even through WhatsApp. Many things are forwarded through WhatsApp. And having ready access to information is not necessarily a bad thing. However, it has its associated challenges that anyone can put out information out there, which can result in multiple misleading information and conspiracy theories that are unverified. And when they are unverified and move from one source to another and readily go viral, this can impact human behavior. And this has been the case for COVID-19 vaccination and has contributed to a significant doubt and in the purpose or intent or the efficacy of the vaccination, resulting in hesitancy. There are also many other reasons. Some of them include concerns about possibility about safety concerns. Some have been concerned about the rollout of the vaccination. Some have been concerned about the entanglement of politics and vaccine development. Some have mistrust for their governments. And as a result, they're not certain about information coming from their government. Some have mistrust about Western innovations, that this is another Western innovation. Do I really trust it? And some have been a little bit, they've lacked the understanding of the use of mRNA technology for vaccinations, and they've been confused with that, and people have sent out so much information out there. And I think it's very important that we as religious leaders that are trusted within our communities educate ourselves on these things that are concerns of the people and address them effectively, because all the concerns that I've mentioned have been well addressed by credible, reliable sources and established health institutions to determine the efficacy of the COVID vaccinations to limit morbidity, that means sickness, and limit mortality. and that means death. And I believe that this is the junction in history where we need to rise up as Christian leaders that are trusted within our community to educate our peers, our fellow Christian leaders that may be in doubt or may be questioning. Because I want to come from the perspective that I believe people have good intentions, but they do not have the knowledge. And by the time we're able to educate them and address their fears and their concerns, we may be able to address this and now get other people that will be force multipliers for us in spreading the news about the efficacy of vaccines. And I have multiple ideas on how we can do this. It is very important that organizations or institutions like the ministries of health, public health institutions should work hand in hand with faith-based organizations to provide a lot of technical assistance to educate faith-based leaders and community leaders so that these faith-based leadership have the capacity to combat the various misunderstanding that has resulted in vaccine hesitancy. There are also opportunities for collaborations with faith-based organizations to mitigate medical mistrust, because there is still some medical mistrust and disinformation, and also to work with faith-based communities to develop culturally sensitive information to address our communities. There are opportunities to have a collaboration of faith-based network and interfaith network to spread both messages, and for us to actually demonstrate in front of our congregation by physically taking the vaccination in front of our people so that they can know that we're not just saying this, but we're living as examples. This is also very important when we're able to facilitate intensive targeted community awareness campaigns. This is very important because various members of the communities have different concerns, and being able to address these concerns in a tailored way. And also within the African community, we can begin to have ways in which we can incentivize vaccination campaigns in partnership with the ministries of health, with faith-based leadership in various community gatherings to mitigate vaccine hesitancy. I have many other things that are ideas, because I'm looking forward to opportunities for us to pivot our conversations to solutions and what we can do to really challenge this. But I believe there are multiple ways in which faith-based leaders can work together to ensure that we spread the right messages and increase the uptake of vaccinations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's really wonderful. Actually, I think, that really brings up an important point to reach out to you. You can share more on what your recommendations are. And I think that, the co-organizers of this important session, including from the Imam, we want to pull these recommendations so that we can be able to share that more, and even partner with public health professionals and the government. So at this point, I think we have run out of time for this particular panel. So we would like to call on people who are participants to continue to ask questions in the chat, and we'll call on our distinguished panelists to respond. In the meantime, we will have a small poll, intermission for about 3 minutes, in which we will have a poll. And then we'll transition to the next panel. Thank you so much to our distinguished panelists.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Good. So Sonia, are we going to do the poll while we transition to the next panel?
Yeah.
So while we're completing the poll, we would like to call on our next two panelists to get ready, Ms. Amisa and Dr. Grace.
And Will, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay, there is a question in the chat. Since we need to move to the next panel, I'll invite the Imam and also Reverend Pastor Adioye to answer that question in the chat.
And the question is,
the question is, misinformation is a major factor responsible for vaccine hesitancy the world over. What role faith plays is not clear, but fear of population-controlled manipulation is there. So that's a comment.
Well, for me, I don't see any misinformation. I mean, if you seek the advice of medical professionals, they all assure you that this pandemic is serious. If you speak to major religious leader, majority, and when I say majority, I don't mean 60%. I'm talking about over 90% of scholars who are educated. I mean, there are scholars or they call themselves imams, but they are not educated enough really to give a religious opinion. But among the family of those who are educated, we are unanimous that this is a serious issue and vaccination is the only solution. And adding to that is, it is a sin really not to take the vaccine, because the Prophet said, seek treatment. The Prophet did not leave it for us to say yes or no. He said, seek treatment. And also the Prophet Muhammad prohibited the Muslim to kill themselves. So this is killing, because we do see many cases they end up in the hospital and then they die. So it means, put all these together. It is very serious, and people need to respond positively to government efforts, to scholars of science. They all are telling us that vaccination is very important.
Thank you very much, Imam. Like I mentioned, Dr. Adioye actually recommend that you also put your own comment in the chat so that we can, in the interest of time, move to the next panel. And also we will welcome your further input on this, like you have shared, so that we can put together a document at the end of this that we can also share with other people that would benefit from this. So with that, I would like to transition to the next panel.